Welcome to Bharat Kranti. Let us know about this India European Union Free Trade Agreement FTA, famously being called as the mother of all deals. Let us see what it is. So, European Union or EU is a group of 27 countries. It is an alliance. It is a political and economic alliance of most of the European countries. It is the second largest economy after USA. Combinedly, the group is the second largest economy and India is the fifth largest economy. So these two have made something called Free Trade Agreement. So recently we have celebrated our Republic Day on 26th January. So European Union leaders were invited as chief guests for this India's Republic Day event. And around the same time, we have conducted 16th India EU Summit. So in this India EU 16th Summit, we have concluded this landmark free trade agreement. Normally speaking, whenever a goods is exported into another country, or see from the country perspective which is importing it. Let's say goods are coming from another country into India. Now, we impose certain kind of restrictions at our borders. These are called trade barriers. These trade barriers can be tariffs. Tariffs means literally levying some tax on the good. Let's say a country is selling cars in India. A company from another country is selling cars in India. They are selling it like a car of 10 lakhs. Now India can impose, let's say, 50% tariff on it, 50% tax on it. That means that car will cost 15 lakhs to the consumer, 10 lakhs will go to the seller, 5 lakhs will go to the government of India. These are called tariffs. Then there is another trade barrier called quotas. Quotas means limit. India can say, this month you can only sell 1000 cars. So we can put a numerical restriction like that, a limit. Then there can be standards, regulation through standards, like let's say India is importing some apples from a country. In that apples there is pesticide content. Nowadays pesticide is everywhere. So there will be some pesticide content in that apple. What is the allowed percentage? What is the standard for allowed pesticide percentage? India can decide it. So India can say, I will only allow those apples which are less than 0.5% pesticide content. Okay, I will allow only those apples which are having less than 0.5 pesticide content. So now we have all these trade barriers. Now what is free trade agreement? So let us say two or more countries come together and make a pact among themselves to reduce these barriers for imports into the country, exports from the country to another country. So when countries make these kind of deals, these kind of agreements, it is called free trade agreement. And this free trade agreement lowers tariffs, quotas and other barriers. It simplifies customs and regulatory procedures when goods are moving into another country. These improve market access for goods and services because the trade is free. There are lesser restrictions. The price will be less to the consumer, so more consumers will buy. So in the case we have discussed, our car will cost only 10 lakhs. If India does not levy any tariff, car will cost only 10 lakhs. More people will buy. If the car price is 15 lakhs, only very few people will buy. Then these promote predictable and rules-based trade. So now there is a clear agreement. Everybody knows it. Rules are there. So people can invest or buy as per the rules which are already known to everyone. There is certainty. So this agreement is dubbed as mother of all deeds. Why? Because of its scale and depth. The amount of economies, the size of economies involved and the extent of free trade they are allowing among themselves. Surprisingly, these negotiations began almost 20 years back in 2007. They were stalled many times, they were revived many times, this happened again and again. And finally, almost after 2 decades, in 2026, we have concluded it thanks to some crazy actions by Mr. Donald Trump. Then EU became the 22nd free trade agreement partner. So India has already made many free trade agreements with many countries. Like we have free trade with UK, UAE, New Zealand, Oman, etc. With many countries we have made free trade agreement. Now European Union is the 22nd one.
Why this FTA matters? Because India and EU together represent about 25% of global GDP. So we together, these two partners together is 1/4 of the global GDP, and they account for 1/3 of global trade, of all the trade happening in all the world. 1/3 is done by us. Okay. EU is India's largest trading partner in goods. So even before this pact, European Union is the largest country accepting the goods from India. Okay, so now what happens after FTA? Now it will only increase. So the trade will only increase. It is a good sign for both. The deal strengthens ties between two major democracies. So both are democracies, both share similar views. So they can form stronger bonds now because both are democracies. EU cannot do this with China because China political system is against EU political values. They cannot be natural friends, but India can be a natural friend to European Union. It creates stability amid global trade uncertainty. So as you must be knowing, there is a trade war between China and America, and America is doing many military actions. There is a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. There is a tense situation between Israel and Iran. So in this kind of world, in this amount of uncertainty, now we are making a rules-based pact. So it creates stability and certainty. Why EU wanted this deal? Why European wanted this deal? Because India is a fastest growing, largest economy. So in fact, India is the fastest growing, largest economy. And we have the world's largest population. We are the most populous country. So India offers a huge and expanding consumer market. We have consumerism is rising in India. We have significant middle class population, and this is only increasing. The middle class in India is increasing. So European Union gets access to one of the largest markets in the world. India provides a stable democratic investment environment. So there are no kings here, there is no military rule. So we can give stable democratic investment. So whatever the investment made by companies from European Union, they are safe here. The EU seeks to reduce dependence on China. So currently for many investments, many industries, many business, many countries like USA and EU and EU alliance, they are very much dependent on China. So in a way, China controls them indirectly in many ways. So they have only very limited options to avoid dependence on China. So they are seeing India as the best alternative to China. India is a reliable manufacturing and investment destination. So India is seeing significant growth, and it will continue to see. For the next few years, the growth in India will be good. Okay. So we have this demographic dividend till 2055. So India is one of the reliable manufacturing and investment destination where if you invest or if you start companies, it will give fruits. And also you can rely on India's manufacturing in the longer term. Why India wanted the deal? The EU is India's largest export market bloc. So already the bloc, that means a group of countries. EU is the largest market bloc already for India's exports. So after this FTA, it will only increase. EU is a major source of capital and technology. So European Union, consisting of countries like Germany, France, Italy, Spain, all of these are advanced countries, developer countries. So they have significant capital and technology. So we can get all of that and improve our own industries. The FTA improves global market access for Indian goods. So this FTA, now we have wider access. Previously, before this FTA, now we have to sell within India. Now with this FTA, we can sell the same goods in European Union also. Our global market access has increased. Indian industries gain incentives to upgrade standards. Now the market has become bigger. So now I can upgrade the standards and sell into a wider market. Okay. The deal enhances India's strategic autonomy. Now we are no more desperate to make FDAs or no more desperate to listen to whatever USA says or Trump says, because we already have our leverage. We have good partners, reliable, trustful partners. So this increases our strategic autonomy. So what are the market gains for India? So we have got, like, under this FTA, both EU and India both got more than 90% of access, free access, liberal access for more than 95% of their goods and services. So in terms of trade value, 99.5% of our exports will get preferential access. That means whatever the tariff is applicable to other countries, we will pay less. Our tariff will be lesser than the other countries. Okay, so this pact covers almost 97% of tariff line. That means 97% of products are already covered under these tariffs. Then we have included services also under this. So India is also a global powerhouse in services. We are one of the leading countries in providing services across the world. So almost 144 different type of service subsectors were increased in this pact. So it is a very significant boost for India. Now we can increase our software services to European Union. We can increase our professional services like doctors to European Union. And this will also give access to services like education. More Indian students can now study in European colleges, etc. Okay, so educational quality can be increased. Okay, and European Union itself is a big market. Okay, the population of European Union roughly comes around 450 million. Okay, 45 crores. So it is also a big consumer market, and all those people are rich and advanced. So it is a very big market. It is a big boost to our export-led growth. Okay. So what are the sectors benefited? Okay, if you see here in the right side, so sectors that are benefiting in India is textiles, leather, gems, pharmaceutical, engineering, handicrafts, marine products, etc. So in these sectors, in that FTA, EU has agreed to reduce the tariffs, okay, trade barriers. And from all the products coming from EU to India, we have agreed to reduce tariffs on automobiles, machinery, medical devices, aircraft parts, components, okay, wines and electrical equipment, etc. So labor intensive sector benefit. So one of the sector benefiting is these kind of sector: textiles and garments, leather and footwear, gems and jewellery, marine product exports. All of these are very labor intensive. That means they employ much more population of India. Take software. It gives very high output, but it employs very less people. It pays very high to very few people. So India is having very high population, and all of us need employment. So manufacturing is very important for India, and all these sectors under manufacturing were included in the FTA. So it is a good thing. So labor intensive sectors are getting a boost. Okay, and these labor intensive sectors are getting a boost is also helping our MSMEs. That means micro, small, medium enterprises, and our women, because they employ so much of women, and most of them are smaller companies, MSMEs. So this is a very good good in terms of inclusive development. Okay, development of all. So from service sector also we have many gains. Okay, we have made a mobility framework. That means professionals from India can move to EU, European Union, and vice versa. Okay, so you can pause and see here. So which products from India get preferential access into European Union, and which products from European Union gets preferential access from India. So, but there are some sensitive sectors which we are compelled to put outside of this FTA. We have not liberalized these sectors. Some sectors are too sensitive that if we allow imports in these sectors, our own producers will be harmed. Okay, like dairy products. So we have dairy products. Okay, dairy sector. Okay, cow milk, etc., cheese, etc. So all of these are like our farmers are very vulnerable. So if we allow European Union goods into this sector, they have very significant advantage in this. So our farmers cannot compete with the products of the European Union. So we have excluded dairy. Same with cereals. Same with some medical drugs, etc. So for our own food security, we had to keep some sectors outside of the purview of this FTA. And there is some intellectual property issue also, like IPR. There is something called intellectual property rights, like patent rights. Okay, if someone has invented something, giving exclusive ownership right to them is intellectual property right. So we have World Trade Organization. Under the framework of World Trade Organization, there are some set of rules. It is called TRIPS. You will read in GS3 economy. So European Union actually pushed for a strong IPR regime. European Union has a very strong intellectual property rights framework. In India, the intellectual property rights framework is not that strong. We try to give access to everyone, but European Union tries to give strong preference for the IPR, patents, etc. Okay, those who have patents, they have the exclusive rights. They earn income from it. So they have pushed for strong IPR framework, but we have said no. We have many issues like India produces so much of generic pharmaceuticals, generic medicines, giving medicines to at lower cost to all the people of India and even many other developing countries. So we have to prioritize our public health, and we have to adjust this IPR framework as per WTO and as per India's framework, but not as demanded by the European Union. So there is a bit of compromise in this intellectual property rights framework also. Regardless, so with all the issues, we have made a free trade agreement. We have made a FTA. So wherever we had agreed, we have made it. Let us see this EU perspective. So what happens to EU's products? So EU also excluded some products like beef, sugar, rice, poultry and milk powder. So it has its own vulnerabilities. It does not want exports from India, from products from India into European Union, which make their own population vulnerable, their own producers vulnerable. So EU has excluded them also. Okay. So there are also some other concerns. Let us see the other concerns. But regardless, whatever we have made a FTA. That means we have respected each other's sensitivities. So let us see what are the concerns. So still there is some criticism this FTA is receiving. What are the concerns, challenges and concerns? One is this European Union has very strict standards, environmental wise, labor wise. That means they put very rigid restrictions on it. So these may not be trade barriers. These are other requirements, non-trade barriers, okay, non-tariff barriers. So to meet these environmental and labor standards, Indian companies has to put extra effort, extra money, okay, make extra compliances, etc. Like there is something called Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM. So it imposes some certain tax, carbon tax on all the polluting products, those products which are made in polluting factories. Let's take steel making in India. If you make steel in India, so there will be some emissions from that factory, and when you export that steel from India to European Union, at the border you will pay some carbon border adjustment tax. So they will impose some tariff, but not in the name of normal tariff. It is a different carbon tax for pollution. So anyway, customers in European Union has to pay that additional tax. So Indian products will become less attractive. So this CBAM etc. will be a problem. So these will increase compliance cost for Indian exporters. So here there is a need for regulatory alignment. So as I told, regardless of all the concerns, we have respected each other's sensitivities and kept the contentious or controversial products outside of the free trade agreement. And we have made a deal wherever we could agree. And it is not just economic thing, there is a geopolitical significance also to it. Like trade is increasingly a tool of strategic power, increasingly becoming a tool of strategic power. Like we have seen how Donald Trump used these tariffs, 50%, 25% tariffs on whatever he is demanding. Whoever is not listening to him, he is imposing tariffs. So this trade is becoming a tool of strategic power. And till now, India is actually over dependent on very limited partners like USA and Gulf countries and China. So we are very much dependent on them. So they are trying to control us through this trade. But now India is diversifying, making many more partners. So this is a good thing. The deal strengthens India's global positioning. So this deal is strengthening India's global positioning because now we are not desperate to make FTAs, and we make very good FTAs and we follow the rules. Unlike USA and China who are openly flouting the rules, we actually follow the rules and we make good trade pacts, okay, and we decide it on our own. We are not getting blackmailed by any country. So it is a good sign that India is rising on global stage. So this is about the India-European Union Free Trade Pact. But in this 16th India-EU Summit, there are some other outcomes also. Like we have made some partnership on security and defense. There is something called mobility framework, which allows free movement of professionals across the borders between EU and India. There is green hydrogen cooperation strengthenment, okay, framework for this renewable energy sector. There is disaster management collaboration, technology and innovation partnerships, etc. So much more happened than this pact, but this is the most important of all. Okay, why it is most important? Because already India EU mutual trade is exceeding 220 billion every year, and EU is one of the major investors into India. The deal impacts jobs, industries and income. It is not just about money, it is about creating jobs, improving industries, improving incomes. Okay, and also strategic autonomy. Okay, and it covers very wide set of goods, services, okay, and movement of personals, mobility. So this is structural, not just symbolic. It is trying to improve and protect both the partners. And this is a FTA between second largest economy after USA. EU is the second largest after USA, and fifth largest India in the world. Okay, so because two large economies coming together and making a very wide diverse deal, this is called the mother of all deals. Okay, coming to UPSC examination relevance. So from prelims perspective, you should know what is European Union. Okay, who are the members, what are the institutions under European Union, what is an FTA, what are various types of FTAs. Okay, what is carbon border adjustment mechanism, CBAM, what are non-trade barriers, non-tariff barriers. Okay, when it comes to mains, focus on context, opportunities and challenges. Try to do analysis. If I have to link this to syllabus, GS paper 2 international relations, it is directly relevant to international relations in GS paper 2. Okay, agreements, global groupings and agreement affecting India's interest, involving India and affecting India's interest. And then comes the GS paper 3. There is a direct syllabus line called effect of liberalization. Okay, so here this liberalization and globalization impact you can read. So this is how you link it to the final exam.